So what do you do when you have a student who lets go of some unnecessary body tension, some body armoring, and then suddenly they're flooded by some very powerful, perhaps even frightening emotions?
I always have Kleenexes right there, right nearby. I usually listen more than ask. If it happens on a pretty regular basis with somebody, I gently inquire if they're doing any therapy, because it's really nice to have a therapist help you organize some of that stuff and understand it, rather than just having this sort of chronic letting go but not knowing what's going on situation, which can happen. Fear is a tough one. I did Jessica Wolf's Art of Breathing training last year in 2010. So that's a huge help when people are really going for an upset and a memory can be coming up. They tend to hold their breath. So just staying with the breathing and having it be safe, that can be really, really useful. I've had so many of those kinds of things happen myself, because I did probably a decade of therapy before, during, and after my training, and actually did get lots of different kinds of body work and have done this pretty deep work with the guitar circles. So I don't myself feel frightened when that happens, because I know the territory, I know the terrain. You will get through it, especially if you keep breathing and you let go. So, but Alexander teachers aren't very well trained in that. I've had to pick up a lot of that outside the fold.
I have an Alexander teacher who deducts the cost of her therapy as a work expense on her taxes.
Good for her.
Yeah,
that's brilliant. Well, she should.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't think it's any accident that she is among the most clear and with the least double agendas of any teacher I've ever encountered.
Luke, you used the word clear, and I think that kind of back to not putting negativity on our students. It's really about keeping ourselves clear. And that is a full-time job. And I do think, depending on one's background, if one grew up in paradise, maybe this wouldn't be needed. But for me, psychotherapy was an amazing tool to learn the process of clearing, how to get rid of stuff. Because, in fact, stuff keeps happening, right? It's not like we had stuff happen when we were young and, that's over. No, stuff's happening all the time, and life's tough that way. So I think to be able to keep oneself clear means you're making space for the work, and you're making space for your student within the work, and you're not really bringing your own stuff into the lesson. You can leave it outside the door. It'll be there when you finish. You can walk back out and pick it back up. But I do work pretty hard not to let my own emotional climate bleed over into the work, because the work is a clear space. Thank God. That's why I love the work.
Is there anything you'd like to talk about that I have not asked you?
You're actually a brilliant interviewer. I'm so interested by your questions. Let's see. Let me think. The only thing I can think of is something that came up recently on a call. There was an AMSAT call for third-year trainees and first-year teachers to get together in a conference call and share ideas and talk about building a practice and giving an introductory workshop. And at the end of that call, there was actually a trainee from ACAT who just graduated on Friday. She was moderating, but I butted in at the end because I was a co-moderator. And I said to people, I said to the third-year trainees and the first-year teachers, in a perfect world, Where would you like to see this work go? What would you like to contribute? What is it? What do you see? What are the dreams you have for the work? And I'm so aware in my mid-50s that all my dreams for the work, I'm not going to be able to discharge them all. I've done some in different areas. Now I seem to be writing. That seems to be what my contribution is at the moment, other than teaching. But I think my dreams for the work, one of them is very similar to Alexander's, and he gave it a good deal of himself, which is to get this work to kids and to get this work to teenagers, to get this work to young people who are being educated in their early 20s. Because it's best as a preventative technique, it's best as a training for life. It's great in other ways, too. It's great for helping to fix problems and undo old stuff. But what an amazing thing if we were to be able to get this into the schools. I did that for 10 years in an elementary school, but, sort of with one third grade class, not with the whole school. I did an initiative for about 3 years doing it with teachers at the same school so that they could bring some of it into their classrooms. There were kids doing lie-downs during their standard testing and all that kind of thing. I mean, it's great stuff. It needs many hands and many minds of all of the teachers to get it out there. Ann Matthews, now I think in her 80s, her master's thesis was about teaching this in public schools. So that's one of my big dreams.